Hey y'all, welcome to the country where it's just another day in paradise. Let's see what's going on. Hey y'all, welcome to the country. I'm Susan from Susan's Country Living. Glad you could join me today. If you happen to like what you see, be sure to click the subscribe button, the notification button, and you can see things that when my videos post. I live in a little country town and I grow our own vegetables and I preserve a lot of them, and I have a ton of cucumbers. We have bees on our property, and because of that, I tell you, the cucumbers, the weather's just right. We've had a lot of rain. It's starting to get hot now and they're coming on, and those bees are doing what they're supposed to do. So I have a lot of cucumbers. Normally I pickle them. I make bread and butter pickles. I make hot garlic dill pickles. My boys love those. I've made some of my friends' Momo's spiced little pickles that are just kind of a sweet, subtle pickle that are really good. But I'm going to try my hand at something different. I'm going to make some fermented pickles. You might have heard of Polish pickles. The New York Jewish deli pickles. Well, I'm going to try that today. And I'm going to use just a glass container with a large opening so I can see what's going on in here, because we're going to get some lacto fermentation going on. Now, and we're not using vinegar, and in order to get our pickles crisp, you need to add something with tannin. You can add oak leaves, grape leaves, bay leaves, and horseradish. Those things have tannin in them. Around where I live, there are a lot of wild grapes called Mustang grapes, and I just stopped on the side of the road. I know they haven't sprayed this area with herbicide or anything, and I just stopped at a little local store that was nearby that had some tall trees next door, and these grape leaves just were covering them. The grapevines were. So I cut me a few of them and I've washed them. And it starts with putting a couple of leaves in the bottom of this container. You also want to add some garlic. I'm going to put a couple of cloves in the bottom of garlic. It called for some heads of dill. Well, I don't have any of that, but I've got dill seed. I keep this in the freezer. And I'm going to add about a scant half teaspoon to the bottom of this. And with Polish pickles, normally they add some sort of seasoning, mustard seeds. I'm just going to use a fresh pickling spice. And I'm just going to put some in my hand. There's red pepper flakes, allspice, bay leaves, mustard, caraway, not caraway, it's cilantro seeds, cumin seeds. I'm just going to put a little bit of those in the bottom of my jar there. And I believe that that is it for the very, very bottom. And I'm going to use smaller cucumbers, and I'm going to cut them in half because I want to be able to add more cucumbers. See, the great thing about this is you can continue to add your cucumbers to it. I did cut the little blossom end off. People say there's an enzyme there that makes them soggy, but the grape leaves, the tannin in the grape leaves should keep them crunchy. So I'm just going to split these in half, and see the seeds are tiny, tiny, and I'm just going to start layering these in my jar here. I like to lay my pickle flat so to where it doesn't roll, and then cut right down the middle. See, those are great looking pickles. There's no hollowness, and they smell really, really good. Now I've made a brine for every quart of water, and you want to use water without chlorine. You can go buy your bottled water. You can fill up a container and leave it overnight open to let the chlorine dissipate. I have a reverse osmosis water filter. If you got a water filter that removes chlorine, then that's all you need. I'm just going to start layering these down in this jar. I've planted all different varieties of cucumbers this year. I had one little gherkin seed. I planted a gherkin, and the cucumbers will get large, but if you pick them small, they're like this, really pretty. I planted a market more. I planted a Boston pickler. Oh, now see that little hollow space right there? Had this been whole, that might have been a problem, but hopefully it's not going to be a problem with that little hollow space there. And then I planted one that it's Gyocanaceous. It's all female flowers, all the seeds, and you need to plant a different variety so that you get the pollination. And those are just now starting to produce some cucumbers. Oh, you know what? I needed to layer. Hang on. Let me take some of these pickles out, or cucumbers out. Okay, it said to layer. So see, I've got a layer there. I'm going to add another grape leaf. Trim some of that stem off there. And you want to start with your container that's really clean. I'm going to add a couple of more garlic and a little, maybe a fourth a teaspoon of some dill. Just kind of sprinkle that in. I don't think my pickling spice has any dill in it, so I'm just going to sprinkle some little pickling spice. You could use, if you have peppers, like dried peppers, you could add them to it. Okay, now I'm going to put some more on here. Let's put these down in there, layer them, put another layer. You could do spears. Since these are little, that's why I'm cutting them in half. It's like I've got another layer, so I'm going to put another grape leaf. And these grape leaves, I checked them really good. They had little insects on the bottom of them, and I shook them off and washed them. And they weren't the older leaves. They were a newer growth. If you want to use grape leaves and you don't have any grape leaves or a vineyard near you, that Mediterranean markets, I bet they have fresh grape leaves. Even maybe frozen ones. I'm going to try to freeze some of them and see how that goes. Okay, so I've got another layer I'm going to put in here and when you make a brine, you want to use sea salt, where that's the only ingredient. When you read the label, it should say just sea salt, or just plain salt. I think you could probably use pickling salt. I don't know why you couldn't, because it's just plain salt. And I mixed, it's 5 tablespoons for every 2 quarts of your non-chlorinated water. So I've got 1 quart mixed up. If I need to, I'll mix up some more. Well, that one was like a little bitty seeds in there. Okay. So I've got my pickles layered, and it says to kind of press them down a little bit, so I'm going to press them down. To add some more garlic on top. I probably have, oh goodness, I probably peeled about 8 or 9 cloves of garlic. I like things really garlicky. I'm going to add just a little sprinkle of more dill on top. There. I'm going to add a little bit more seasoning there on top. My pickling spices. And it said to put a couple more grape leaves. Let me get one more washed up here. Wash up a big one. Took a bite out of that one. I'm going to cut around it there. Cut that little tip there. Okay. So I've got a couple of grape leaves on top. push down, and it's said to be sure that you leave 1 to 2 inches headspace. There we go. Now, I'm going to pour my brine in here. I'll mix up a little bit more brine. Pour the rest of that in there. Alright, so I'm going to mix up some more brine because what I need to do is I have a bowl that fits into this container that's going to help keep everything down under the brine. I don't want those garlic cloves floating up. Get back down in there. Those grape leaves need to cover everything there. I'm not going to do that. Alright, so I'm going to put 2.5 tablespoons of sea salt in this water here. And we're just going to pour it so that will weight everything down, and I'm just going to barely overflow the jar because I don't want to come all the way to the top. There's a little something floating there. You know, the spices, you really don't have to worry too much about them. It's your other ingredients. Now, if your garlic turns color like turquoise, that's okay. It just means that it wasn't just totally fresh right out of the garden. I have garlic in the garden. It's not ready yet. So I have store-bought garlic, and it's probably going to turn turquoise. All right, so, I see a little bit of water, bubbles underneath my, we don't want any air. A few bubbles underneath there, so I'm going to get those out. Get those bubbles out. All right. You want an anaerobic environment. That garlic will probably be okay too. Let me get it down underneath. Ready? And they're going to stay nice and green, but our liquid will get cloudy. And I'm hoping that there's no air bubbles. I'm going to give it a little tap there to make sure there's no bubbles down in there. We don't want any air. I'm so excited. I'm hoping that these turn out good because I love deli pickles. Y'all stay tuned. All right, progress on these fermented pickles. We're starting to see a little action here. The grape leaves have colored the water with some tannin there, which is good. I'm seeing some bubbles right here. So we've got some fermentation starting, and the water's getting cloudy. And I just have this sitting in a pie plate just in case that we get a little bubble over. But just kind of, several times during the day, just lift that up and burp it if there is any gas buildup, and I think that it will probably burp itself. Oh, that's a garlic something there. But we can see that it's starting to get cloudy, and I started these Wednesday morning. So it was all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and it is Friday morning. So this is about 2 days later. And I'm going to try to let it go 5 days, and then I will taste them. I don't see any mold growth, which is good. It's important that we keep everything under the water. I've got a glass bowl in there, weighting everything down. About the only thing that's on top is some seasoning and a few seeds of the cucumbers, and if they start to mold, I will just scoop those out there. So I'm getting excited to taste my fermented pickles. Well, I've been gone for a few days and came back to check my pickles that I'm fermenting, and when I got home, there was a scum that formed on the top, and they said that would happen. Little mold, they said that would happen, but nothing down below. So I just skimmed it off and removed the container and dumped out the liquid that was in it, because when I lifted it out, it collected a lot of that extra, the rest of the scum. And the grape leaves, I took that top layer off, and we're going to taste. I'm going to get me one of these pickles. Now it's a pickle. I'm going to rinse it off, just because that's just, yeah. Garlicky, extremely crunchy. You get a little bit of the heat. There's just a few red pepper flakes. I didn't make it super, super hot. So if it was next to a red pepper flake, it'll pick up that. But very crunchy. Not super sour, just a garlicky, fermented pickle. So I'm very pleased with this. You could let them go longer and they will get more sour, but I like this just perfect. I'm going to keep them in the refrigerator. They're supposed to keep for months in the refrigerator. I'm just going to set this down over here. So I just used just a clear jar. I didn't have to really burp it. It may have burped itself because it just has this clear lid, but I did set it in a pie plate. So if you're adventurous, make you some fermented pickles. Just follow the steps that I did, and you will end up with some yummy deli style pickles. Mine are really garlicky, which I like that. So hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and make you some fermented pickles. Bye, y'all.